90's babies, almost twins. I think the Exploder came out in 91, and the Grand Cherokee Laredo, that's the one I remember, came out in 93. 90's babies. They've come a long way. I have to be honest with you. I kind of feel like that the Jeep has been nicer throughout its history as far as the Exploder, except for, remember the early Exploders? There was a green version with tan on the bottom is Eddie Bauer. There used to be a set of Platinums, all that. There was the Eddie Bauer edition, and that was the top of the rung. But anyway, that's a long history, long ago. Let's start off talking about the Ford Explorer first. The Ford Explorer has been with us since the early 90's. So we're going on 35. We're going to be approaching 40 years old here soon. The new Exploder is back to the SUV side instead of a crossover. One real quick thing, crossovers based off of cars. They're usually front wheel drive or they're all wheel drive. SUVs on the other hand are trucks. They're truck chassis, body on frame. The body can come off of the frame, more trucky. The Ford Explorer has been very trucky throughout the years, but the last generation, the previous generation, was a crossover. They matted it up with the Ford Taurus and the Ford Edge and all that. That was horrible. It actually, my wife and I had switched to a Dodge Durango. We purchased a Dodge Durango back in 2016 instead of a Ford Explorer, and I usually would have been a Ford Explorer customer. But anyway, so now we're to the previous, or to the latest iteration of the Ford Explorer. I like the new headlights. I like the new front body, the new front end, the new tail lights, all of that, the new interior. Last year, Ford did a refresh. Not an entirely new model because they don't really do that anymore. They just slap on front ends and change up the interior. There's not really a new car anymore. I mean, there is, but is it really a new car? You know what I'm saying? But anyway, this one's got a 3-liter twin turbocharged V6. That's also the same engine that's underneath the hood of the Bronco Raptor, the Ranger Raptor, and also the Exploder ST. It's a busy little engine. It's a hell of an engine. It makes a boom, it makes like a sonar sound. It's like you're hunting for dolphins. 10-speed automatic, because everything Ford makes is a 10-speed automatic. Not really, but trucks and SUVs, yeah, they all rocking that 10-speed. 4-wheel drive, the amenities are great. About 61 grand. These two are going to compete with a Chevrolet Traverse, Buick Enclave, GMC Acadia. We're also going to have to dial in the Toyota 4Runner, the Nissan Pathfinder. We're also going to have to reach out to Kia and Hyundai and bring in the Telluride, the Palisade. There's a lot of competition in large crossover SUV size. So keep that in mind. All right, the competition level is fierce. Do I think this is the greatest? If you want to leave burnouts, I mean, this thing you can get it just rear wheel drive. It's fantastic. I mean, I'm talking about it will absolutely eat lunch. Okay, Casey, we don't care about all that. It's a family car. It does all of that stuff just well. Let's discuss Ford's recalls. I'm sure it has a recall on it. Ford set a record this year, most recalls ever in a single model year. Casey, it's just October. I know. I think we're at like 118 so far. So I don't know if there's an open recall on the Ford Explorer. My guess is probably that there is. So please keep that in mind. But Ford is real good about fixing their recalls. They kind of have to be at this point. I'm not giving them a hard time. I'm just... The facts are the facts are the facts are the facts. If you don't want that 3-liter, you can also do a 2.3-liter. It's the Mustang EcoBoost engine or the Ford Focus RS engine from back in the mid-teens. So potent little engine, 4-cylinder, 300 and something horsepower, 310 pound-feet of torque, somewhere around the 3s. And this one's around the 4. So you're picking up about 100 horsepower and 100 pound-feet of torque. In the ballpark, approximately. And how that goes. Anyway, let's move on into the Jeep. I like the Jeep. I owned a 95 Jeep Grand Cherokee Laredo. It had 278,000 miles on that 4-liter inline 6. when we got rid of it. God, that thing was a tank, man. I'm talking literal boss on the road. Nothing ever happened. We didn't even replace a water pump. It blew a transmission line off, and we had to get the transmission fluid changed and the transmission pad and all that done out of like a normal service. But other than that, that's the only thing that thing ever did. The 4-liter inline 6 was Jeep's Halo engine. I just like saying that. Halo engine. Do they still make that engine anymore? Oh, hell no. They weren't making enough money in the service department. So, gotta go, bruh. We can't have that engine because we need more moolah. So Jeep has had quite the extensive history. I'm just going to hit on a couple of the high spots right here because it's so extensive. We've got about 6-7 minutes left for this video, and that's not going to have enough time to cover it all. Used to be owned by AMC. Then we were owned by Daimler, Mercedes. Now we're owned by Stellantis. There's nothing wrong with that. Stellantis is great. Stellantis is hooked up with Alfa Romeo, hooked up with Fiat over there in Europe. So a lot of high-end features and things like that are coming into these. However, reliability. Reliability has always been a thing with Dodge products, Jeep products. I lump Jeep and Dodge in together because they've kind of always been together. There's always been a Jeep Dodge dealership and all that. So anyway, and they're rocking the same engine, the same old Pentastar V6. How long has that engine been in production? I mean, like, I want to say like 10, 09. So, I mean, we're rocking 10, 15 years here. It's a very potent engine. That's what they put in the V6 Challengers to compete with the V6, or not anymore, but the lower trim level Mustangs and, well, no more Camaro. But anyway, that was what they used to put in their sports cars. It's what comes in Wranglers. It's what can come in Rams. Anything. It's been, the 3.6 Pentastar has been in almost every single Chrysler, Dodge, Stellantis product for the last 10 years. Okay. It's okay. There's nothing wrong with it. It doesn't have a lot of horsepower. Well, we were talking about 400 over there. We're talking like 281 here. I think it's actually like 281 and 268 pound-feet of torque. That's not enough. Not for this. This is a heavy vehicle. You're talking 4,500 pounds. This is not the L. You move up to the L and get the third row, now you've even added more weight. You're still getting that same engine. I think the newer ones, this is a 2024. I think on a 2025 you can get a hybrid model or something like that. That would be great, I guess. Maybe a little bit more power, help out with gas mileage. But I mean, let's be honest. You're not going to get good gas mileage out of the Jeep or the Ford. You're lucky to get 20 miles per gallon. These are big, huge vehicles, bruh and sis. So, gas mileage, it's going to get what it gets. And you keep your foot into it there, the more people, the more luggage, the more shit you're hauling, the more gas you're going to have to use. So just keep that in mind. I think that the Ford would be more reliable than the Jeep, but you're bringing in turbochargers with the Ford. So turbochargers produce heat. Heat underneath the hood is not good. Heat accelerates wear, accelerates the end of the times for the engine. You know what I'm saying? So there's something like that. The Jeep's got an 8-speed automatic, same 8-speed they put in every single freaking thing. You know how Ford rocks 10 speeds and everything? Well, Stellantis rocks 8 speeds and everything. That's just what their transmission is. 8 speed's a pretty good transmission. The third row thing, let's talk about that real quick. The Ford Explorer did have a third row. Just right out of the gate. They all come with third row. Now, it is tight back there. Very tight. Porquito. Very small. So keep that in mind. But the Jeep doesn't come with a third row until you go to the L. So in these two forms right here, the Jeep's seating 5. The Exploder could seat 8. You see what I'm saying? Actually, the Exploder could seat 7 because you got captain's chairs in the front. Anyway, either way, now the Jeep, let's talk about pricing with the Jeep. We talked about 61, 62, I think maybe 65 might be the most expensive Exploder I've ever seen. That'd be a platinum with a painted roof and blah, 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 all that. $78,000 I saw one listed. Now that's a Grand Cherokee L and with all the Zuzus and the wham-whams, but what? How much? How much? What'd you say? Almost 80 grand for a Grand Cherokee. Whatever, bruh. Like I always say, buy them used. Okay, if you want to save thousands of dollars, let the rich guy, let that first owner take all that depreciation. And you slide in there, swoop in there for about 10, 15 grand off window sticker. Casey, but it's going to have 4,000 or 5,000 miles on it. So if there had been any problems with the vehicle, it would have come up by then. Anyway, we'll start rambling on something else. Real quick, thank you for the Murfreesboro for letting me play with your cause. I can't say thank you enough. Thank you. Anybody else? Thanks for staying this far. If you made it this far, that means you like cars or you think I'm beautiful. It's got to be the cars. Have a hobbly.